Welcome to the Ivan Demidov show, folks. That was kinda anticlimactic. I'm not gonna lie. The vibes were immaculate, and the building was buzzing for the first 20 minutes of Ivan Demidov's debut, and heck, even for a good chunk after that, with Demidov in the offensive zone, making plays, protecting the puck, setting up guys for high-danger backdoor chances. The building was electric, and the building was buzzing. But the Montreal Canadiens, unfortunately, without getting the 2 points today, do not end up clinching a playoff spot. They lose in overtime, 4-3, to the Chicago Blackhawks in a good enough game if you're trying to force this team through sheer power of hope to make the playoffs, but they needed 2 points to get the clinch. They only got one. They lost in a shootout after being up 2-0, and Chicago has the last laugh. Let's talk about the goals. Let's talk about Ivan Demidov. Let's talk about the vibes, because my, oh my, did Demidov put on a show in the first 20 minutes of the game. You could see it already, from the moment he had his rookie lap, to the moment he had first stepped onto the ice, to the moment where he first held on to the puck. The building was cheering their heads off like crazy. Habs fans were waiting for this since last year, pretty much. The fact that we could see Demidov play hockey games at the end of the regular season in the NHL in 2025 is something none of us had expected in the slightest. But we saw it here, and all it took for Ivan Demidov, good old 5th overall Ivan Demidov, all it took for him was 6 minutes to get a point. And it's a beautiful point, too, as Demidov, on a line with Newhook and Armia, receives the pass from Yoel Armia in the neutral zone. Demidov picks the puck up through his legs. He does a nice little tap through the legs and then dangles it back to his forehand as he enters the Chicago zone. He ends up getting met with a little bit of traffic there, but is still able to come away with the puck. And as he slithers down the half wall over to the goal line, threatening a high-danger chance, he then dekes behind the goal line one more time before at the last second sending it out in front of Newhook, and he finds the back of the net. What a beautiful goal, beautiful assist, beautiful play by Ivan Demidov for his very first National Hockey League point. Then you just gotta wait a few more minutes, because 7 minutes later, it's Yoel Armia who tosses a long Hail Mary up forward. It goes through everybody, bounces off the end boards, and the first one to it is Ivan Demidov on the forecheck. He slithers behind the two Chicago defenders, and Demidov fakes the slap shot on Soderblom, picks it back up, goes backhand, and it's a beautiful first NHL goal. My gosh, man, 14 minutes of game time, and Demidov has 2 points. We were already saying it in all of the group chats and on social media. Everybody was posting about it. This guy, Demidov, is the real deal. This guy is not a generational player. This guy is going to be a franchise-defining talent. Oh my gosh, Ivan Demidov looks electric. And that continued for a good chunk of the game, but in between that, the Blackhawks scored 3 goals. Tyler Bertuzzi off of a really nice rush play. Bedard over to Nazar out in front. Bertuzzi shoots and scores, beating Sammy Montembeault in the process. In the second period, the only goal was scored by Frank Nazar. Really nice one-timer on the left side. 2 power play goals here for Chicago, Bertuzzi and Nazar. But also in the second period, I mean, Ivan Demidov could have realistically had like 2 or 3 extra assists in that period alone. Just the way he moves around the zone, how he protects the puck along the boards and in open space, the nice little touch passes that he executes to give the puck over to guys with more speed and with more room to work with. This guy's offensive brain is just so precise. It's refined, and Unfortunately, it only got 2 points here in the first period of the game and none afterwards. It continued on into the third period as well, because Ivan Demidov and Lane Hutson found themselves out on a shift together. They're passing it back and forth, they're rotating around the blue line, but unfortunately, the Canadiens end up giving up possession as Hutson tries to feed it back to Demidov. He takes a shot, it deflects down, and here come the Blackhawks the opposite way. Unfortunately, Landon Slager throws it over to Reichel. He comes in, he shoots, he scores. But Reichel, man, I feel like that might have been Demidov's guy. Demidov, 5 minutes into the third period, kind of dogs it on the back check and doesn't really move his feet. It was a long shift. He was tired. It's his first NHL game. I can understand all of those things, but man, he still didn't put in as much effort as he probably could have on the back check of that go-ahead goal by Chicago. Now, thankfully, for the Canadiens, they ended up tying it with 3 minutes to go. Hutson goes over to Caulfield, and then he takes the shot. It's off of Slafkovsky's foot, and then off the post and in. 3-3 game, heading into overtime. Hutson and Caulfield looked so good on that shift. Ivan Demidov, unfortunately, he's not out there, even though it's a power play, but the Canadiens refused to go 6-on-4. They wanted 5-on-4 just for this little segment here. In overtime, man, things looked really great for a little bit until Lane Hutson fell down, and then the rest of the overtime was pretty much spent in the Montreal zone as Chicago was getting their changes and they were rotating it around. They were just cycling it over and over. Demidov got caught on a long defensive shift and wasn't really able to do anything, and then in the shootout, Demidov did not end up shooting. It looked like Marty St. Louis was tapping on his shoulder and telling him that Demidov would go number 4 if it would have reached that stage, but Cole Caulfield gets denied by Arvid Soderblom. Frank Nazar scores on one of the weirdest goals that we have seen, and I only say it's weird because I actually thought it was in when it was initially shown, but the folks in the building and on the broadcast thought that it was out. They thought he missed the net, but upon video replay, nah, turns out he actually did score. Frank Nazar scored. Patrick Laine got stopped up. Toivo Teravainen was saved, and then Nick Suzuki on a beautiful deke to the backhand gets denied by the toe and the post. So 2 double whammy stops there off of Soderblom's foot and then off of the red iron. Montreal loses 4-3 in a shootout. They still need an extra point to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Columbus Blue Jackets have 2 games left, and they are behind Montreal by just 4 points. They have a chance to tie the Montreal Canadiens if they win their remaining 2 games, and if they do them both in regulation, they would overtake Montreal via the tiebreaker. But the Habs right now, if they get themselves a point, or if they get themselves a regulation win, they lock themselves in. The Blue Jackets need to win their remaining 2 games, and they need to do it in regulation. But if they don't, then Montreal's in the playoffs. Of course, you would prefer Montreal to clinch themselves off of a win that they have. It's kind of difficult to feel good about it when it's like, oh yeah, we're watching this other team and hoping they lose. But on this day, Ivan Demidov makes his debut. He gets 2 points and ends up walking away with 2 feathers in his cap to open up his NHL career. Let's see what he does in game number 2. If those back checks are going to improve, if he just gets a little bit more used to NHL game speed. At no point did I think that he was slow, but I did notice that he was a little bit gassed towards the end there. Carolina's a much better team than Chicago, so we'll see how Demidov performs against the Canes. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Ivan Demidov and his debut with the team. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.